Hello, this is Donald Jenkins, your Master Purpose Development Coach, CEO of the Purpose Development Institute in Atlanta, Georgia. And welcome to Crushing Average TV, the only place online where you can master insight on how to reverse the effects of PDD. Hey, listen, I am excited that you took some time out of your busy schedule to get some very important insight that I'm sure that by the end of this video, you're going to find to be of great value to you. But before I unpack today's subject matter, I need to do a little housekeeping. Make sure that you like this video. Comment on this video. Let me know what you are thinking. Then make sure that you share this video with all the coaches in your network and then subscribe to the Crushing Average TV network, because this is the only place where you can master insight on how to reverse the effects of PDD, which is the greatest risk epidemic in our society. So you need to make sure that you tune in to the videos that I am going to be sharing on this network. So today what I want to unpack for you is what we call the future of sports. If you are an athletic director, you're a parent, you need to share this with coaches. Specifically, if you're a coach, make sure that you share this video with every coach in your network. If you're in any role in regards to sports, this video is for you. And today I'm going to unpack the future of sports and how it's related to how we need to rescue student athletes from purposeless playing careers. I'm going to say that again. We're living in a situation where we as coaches and parents, student athletes, they need to be rescued from a purposeless playing career. So I want to unpack that for you today so that you can understand the role of purpose in this process. And I'm going to begin with a very important thought. I could have come to this video with a tremendous amount of notes that I had in relation to this subject matter, but I had to write down a few thoughts on a piece of paper that I wanted to share with you that I think is very important. Some of the number one thoughts that you need to consider when it comes to the future of sports. And it declares this: is that sports is one of the most transformative experiences on the planet. And without understanding the role of purpose in self-transformation, the future of sports is in jeopardy. And I'm telling you right now that the future of sports is in jeopardy, simply because we have very little insight and coaching on the role of purpose in the self-transformation process. Now, you might be asking, why is that important? Because everything that you want the student athlete to do requires self-transformation, whether it be between the lines or outside the lines. In other words, they have to be in tune with their ability to transform themselves. In fact, that is their most important asset. I take it a step further and I say it is your most important asset that you have. Is that regardless of who you are, where you are, who you're working with, who you work for, you're going to have to always be transforming yourself. But you have to understand the role of purpose in this process. That is the future of sports. So when you look into the future, you need to be thinking about the role of purpose in the self-transformation process, because it's going to help you improve the efficacy of your coaching when it comes to making sure that student athletes are performing at peak levels between and outside the line. So I want to share with you a very important thought from an article that was written by U.S. News in January 2024 of this year, of course. And they had a very startling quote from the American Academy of Pediatrics that reported that 7 out of 10 kids basically quit sports by the age of 13. I want you to think about that. Pause and think about it. 70% of kids are quitting sports. That means that they are having a miserable experience. So if sports is supposed to be the most transformative experience in our life, then why are kids having a miserable experience when it comes to their participation in sports? And from our research, it's simply because we haven't had the conversation of the role of purpose when it comes to the self-transformation process. Because when you remove purpose out of the self-transformation process, then you confine kids to their performance identity. And that is a dangerous place that we put student athletes in because there's so much pressure that's put on student athletes. In this same article, it details how excessive training can lead to overuse and poor quality of life. So here's the deal. These kids didn't sign up to have a poor quality of life. Some of these kids are starting out at an early age, and we're already putting them on the fast track of a poor quality of life. See, when we incorporate purpose in the self-transformation process, we're going to improve the quality of life in sports. When we incorporate purpose, they're not going to be confined to their performance identity. They're going to be able to build an identity that's bigger than sports. They're going to be able to build an identity that's going to stay with them the rest of their life. So this is extremely important because kids are experiencing burnout. So the question is, what is our role to end this burnout? What is our role to make sure that we're not contributors of burnout? That's the last thing that you want to do as a coach, and that is to be involved as a contributor to burnout. So the problem is that kids are pressured to be champions without skills for maintaining the champion's edge. And I want to pause right there because I need you to think about that, because this is where we are in sports today. Everybody wants to win. Who likes losing? I don't like losing. Being a former high school basketball standout, I hated losing. So winning is huge in our society. And we want people to be champions because champions are admired. Champions are celebrated. But we put too much demands on them to be champions without giving them the champion's edge. And that's the reason why I created the Champion's Edge Coach Certification, to address this problem, because that edge allows them to have the edge that they need to be able to incorporate purpose inside and outside the line so that now they can have sustainability and they can reach their highest growth potential in regards to their performance identity and improving their character outside the line. So the champion's edge, without it, it undermines their ability to get the most out of their playing career. So this is the reason why I created, the Champion's Edge Coaching Certification, because then it's going to put you in a very powerful position to help the student athletes get more out of their playing career, whether it is between the line and outside the line. As a former high school basketball standout, I learned a lot in sports that helps me in business, helped me grow my business. We're talking over 30, 40 years ago, that I learned these lessons from sports that today, allow me to take the same mindset to my business. And we want to make sure that kids are able to have those strong takeaways from sports. And without the champion's edge, then the takeaways from sports is going to be weak. I'm going to say that again. Without the champion's edge, the takeaway from sports is going to be weak. It's going to put them in a position to where now they're going to be able that they're going to be confined to playing from a place of weakness instead of playing from a place of strength. This is important because when you are Champion's Edge Coach certified, you're going to be able to coach from a place of strength. So the question that I want to ask you is that, do you want to coach from a place of weakness? Do you want to coach from a place of strength? Because when you coach from a place of strength, they're going to be able to play from a place of strength. And you want them to be able to play from a place of strength and improve their character from a place of strength. And that's the reason why you need to acquire this certification. So it's extremely important. So coaches and parents fail to realize that sports put pressure on the structural integrity of purpose, which increases the risk for burnout. And here's the one thing I want to make sure that I share with you. We know that this generation is different. They're a whole lot different than our generation, specifically in the time that I grew up in. But there's one thing that we all have in common, and that is the structural integrity of purpose. That did not change within the next generation of student athletes. That structure is still there. And sports put a lot of pressure on that structure. In fact, you could take a student athlete and a kid that's not participating in sports. the student athletes will have more pressure on the structural integrity of purpose than the student athlete, than the student that does not play sports. So it's extremely important for you as a coach to be able to understand how to rebuild that structure, because without rebuilding it, then the risk is going to be high for burnout. So here's some things that you need to understand about the Champions Edge Coach Certification. It is the only certification in sports for conducting what we call second layer work, where rebuilding the structural integrity of purpose is a priority. So when we're looking into the future of sports, the structural integrity of purpose must be a priority. Now, you might be saying that athletic skills is a priority, improving, the KPIs when it comes to athletic skills. See, here's one thing that you have to understand, and that is the key performance indicators when it comes to their athletic skills are driven by their key existence indicators, which comes from the Champions Edge Coach Certification. So it's the KEIs that drives the KPIs. So we've been going about it in a very inefficient way when it comes to coaching student athletes. So when we're looking at coaching the next generation of student athletes, we have to make sure that we incorporate the key existence indicators as well, because that's going to reduce burnout. That's going to allow them to make the kind of decisions that's going to be consistent with their growth potential to improve at a high level when it comes to playing sports. So it's extremely important for you to understand this process, for the kids that you're working with to understand this process as well, because this is what we call the second layer work. So there are two layers when it comes to player development. You're doing all the things right on the first layer. I want to be the first to congratulate you on that first layer of work. You can see on the screen everything that you're doing on the first layer of work. Character development, you're strengthening the athletic skills, but then there's another layer. And on that second layer, that's where the role of purpose takes place to optimize the self-transformation process. That's going to allow them to get more out of your coaching or to get more out of their playing career. So the future of sports, you have to look to the second layer. You can no longer just be confined to the first layer, because again, this generation is looking for a meaningful playing career. And it's a time that we as coaches begin to position ourselves to be able to contribute toward a meaningful playing career instead of a purposeless playing career that lead to burnout. So in closing, here's my 5 top reasons to become a Champions Edge certified coach. Number 1, your success as a coach is directly linked to the structural integrity of purpose. That's right. I know you haven't had this conversation before, but your success is linked to the structural integrity of purpose. You have to understand how to rebuild that. Number 1, for yourself. If you can't rebuild the structural integrity of purpose for yourself, how in the world are you going to be able to help the student athletes that you're working with? Because the same structure that's working in them is the same structure that's working in you. So you certainly need to have that understanding that you bring it to yourself so that now you can identify, you can have something in common with the players that you are working with. Number 2, players are locked out of the strength that comes from purpose. So at some point, you got to make a decision to end the lockout. Do you want to continue to coach and the players that you're working with, they're locked out of the strength that comes from purpose? Or would you rather coach where players are ending the lockout? Because when they end the lockout, they're going to get more. You're going to get more out of that player. We always talk about that extra motor. You want to tap into that extra motor in the lockout of the strength that comes from purpose. Number 3, players struggle to make decisions that's consistent with the authority to grow. In our research, we realize that in every generation, we're losing the authority to grow simply because we're not rebuilding the structural integrity of purpose. So as a result of that, we're losing that authority from one generation to the next generation to the next generation. And the self-transformation asset resource is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So do you want to coach players in that position? Or would you rather coach players in which you're helping them improve their self-transformation strength, then you have to make sure that you can incorporate the role of purpose in that process. Number 4, players struggle against social programming that causes them to lose the content war. If you have not noticed, you are in a content war. You give content on how to improve athletic skills and how to improve character. But then there's social programming that's fighting against everything that you are telling that player to do. So how are you going to win that content war? This is the reason why you need to become certified, because I'm going to teach you how to win that content war on your level as a coach, and how to help the student athletes that you're working with win that war as well. Number 5, players struggle to get the most out of their playing careers. This is the reason why you need to become Champions Edge Coach Certified, because now you're going to help them get more out of their playing career. And as you help them, I promise you, it's going to help you. It's going to make your job a whole lot easier. It's going to allow you to decrease that curve of getting them to a place of helping them to become the champions that you want them to become. So again, make sure you get back with the person that shared this video with you. Make sure you set up a discovery call. Make sure that you visit our website at www.purposefitskills.com/course/edge-coach. Make sure you check out that site, and not just check out that site or that webpage. Make sure that you sign up to become a Champions Edge certified coach. Hey, listen, I appreciate your time, and I look forward to working with you in this exciting opportunity to empower the next generation of student athletes.